Hi, I'm Laura,
And I'm Farah.
and today we are going to dive into self-care rituals. So, Farah, you're an expert. You're all about that self-care life. So, let's dive in.
All right. Yes. Yes, rituals are extremely important to me, but it's mostly because I have experienced life with and without them and recognize that when I incorporate self-care rituals into my daily life, that I am just coming from a more harmonious state on the day to day. And I just feel happier and healthier and like I enjoy life more when I'm doing self-care rituals. And that's why I think they're so damn important. And oh, I am probably going to cuss a few times. I hope that's okay.
Okay, over here for sure.
So I'll dive in and just kind of talk about a few self-care rituals that I find really important, and I would love to hear some of yours, Laura, as well, because I am curious to hear what you have to share.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I think the number one self-care ritual that is like without a doubt, no matter there is not a day that goes by, and this took me a really long time to establish, but there is not a day that goes by that I don't meditate at some point. And that is because it is like there's obviously a ton of studies and evidence out there that kind of shows how it increases like your parasympathetic nervous system and just activates that and helps you come from a more relaxed state in like the day to day. And even like the loving kindness meditation activates parts of your brain that are connected with compassion and love and like a more like happiness and joy. So like again, there's all the studies that support it, but I personally have experienced that firsthand, and I recognize that when I take time within my day, like it's the first thing I do when I wake up. I literally like open my eyes, rub the sleep out of my eyes a little bit, and I like sit up and I go through at least 11 minutes of
Whoa,
meditation. Yes,
love
it
it.
and usually if I'm feeling a little funky, it's longer, and hopefully I have time to like work through the funk, but to be able to like get out of bed and like kind of jumpstart my day that way. Um, but I usually will cover like four major topics. I learned this from my teacher, Sylvia Mardini, and like I've incorporated it ever since. So, what am I grateful for? Always good to start with gratitude. Gratitude practice is like critical. And then what am I forgiving myself for and others for? So, like letting go of anything that might be lingering from the day before. And then affirmations, like what am I trying to invoke in my life? And then I ask for divine guidance. So, it's kind of like I've seen like a meme recently, and they're like, um, prayer is talking to God or spirit, and then meditation's listening. So I feel like I talk a lot to God, and then I'm like, okay, what do you have to share for me after this? And so then that's usually like a little insight that I like carry with me for the rest of the day. And it's always like there's always a moment where I'm like, oh, and this was a reminder of that thing that I was supposed to do today. So that's like my non-negotiable. Every single day I do that. I journal
Wait,
every.
wait, wait. Hold on one sec. One sec.
Yeah, sorry,
Like,
go.
you probably get this question a lot, and I gotta ask you because I don't meditate, but
Mm.
I want to. So, how do
Ask the
you,
question
like,
again.
11 minutes?
Yep.
11 minutes is a lot. So, how do you rein in your wandering thoughts? Like, how did you get to? I understand that I think those guided the questions that maybe helps keep you anchored, but man, oh man, I close my eyes, give me 45 seconds, and I'm squirreling away. So how did you like build up, and how do you honor that ritual?
Well, I think 2 points are really important there. One, like I would start like shorter time periods. Like one of like the meditations that I teach, it's 1 minute. So it's like literally just starting, but with like a 1 minute check-in, and it's still just as effective. If you're taking 5 conscious breaths within that minute, then that's like enough, better than nothing. And that's always what I refer back to, and that's why meditation's so important to me. Because I'm like, if I do nothing else today, like let me give like 1 minute of like time to like really connect with my soul and like be present. So I think starting small, and then like working your way up and adding in more time. Like I said, sometimes, but the second thing, my mind still goes crazy, Laura, all the
Okay.
time. And that is why
It's
I
not
have
just
to
me.
meditate. That's why I'm doing it. It's because like I go a little bananas sometimes. Like my head goes a little bonkers, and so like that monkey mind jumping from one thing to the next is just like a part of being a human. And so, and I feel like my mind moves way too fast for my own damn good sometimes. So I that is why it's like my baseline, because it's the way for me to come into like my day, or kind of move throughout my day from a more like proactive space, or from instead of a reactive space, so that I'm able to like touch a point with myself, and I'm coming from a more centered like kind of approach and just like state of being.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
if
that makes sense.
you've never meditated before and you're interested in starting, guided meditations are excellent because then you have someone that's actually like coaching you through step by step. So when your mind starts to kind of like wander off, you have someone that kind of reins you back in. So I think that that's really like that's how I started. And then now I'm at a point where it's more maintenance versus establishing my practice. So and now I have like a concrete way that I know I can handle it. And when sometimes when people are guiding me, I'm like, I don't like. I'm more thinking about how they're guiding me than I am meditating. So like, if I'm like inspired to do that, I'll take that route. Insight Timer, it's a free app. You can download it. There's like millions. I think honestly, millions of meditations that you can do on
Nice.
there.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's hope for us non-meditators. Okay, I'm feeling better.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I would definitely I I would suggest for everyone like find some type of meditation if that's sitting in stillness or if that's a movement meditation or if it's some people find meditation from like gardening or knitting or like there's so many ways that you can like access that space to be able to come like just slow your mind down and to be coming from like a more conscious space than necessarily judgment and reaction. And so whatever people find in that, that's usually kind of when I do like with coaching, I'm like, what is that space? Where do you find that? What's the activity you find that in? And then like let's just bring that in and incorporate that into your daily practice. We don't always have to. You don't have to sit down and meditate like a Buddhist monk if you don't want to.
Okay, good. That feels much more approachable.
Okay, cool. Um, I'm like, I'm going to share some meditations with you after we get off of this, and then you can try it out. And following your breath, like that's the simplest way, and that's usually like I take breath breaks throughout the day too. That's another one of my rituals. Is I
Ooh, okay.
it's an alarm that goes off. It's so funny because it scares people, and they're like, "Oh, do you have to go?" And I'm like, "Oh no, this is just a breath break." And I was like, "Let's do it together." And so then I just take a big inhale and exhale, and it's just like, all right, reset back in it and then I go back into life. But it's at point in times of the day that I'm like usually racing, and so it's a reminder to slow down.
Nice.
Yeah.
Love that.
Um, okay, what's so I would say correlated with meditation is going out into nature. So I spend at least 10 minutes in nature every day. And again, so it's like it's not a lot of time. All of my rituals are less than an hour of my day. If they exceed past that amount, like whatever, but at least that's kind of like my bare minimum that I give myself. And I think I can scroll on Instagram for longer than that. So I think if I can like, do that and like zone out, I rather make it intentional time that I'm giving back to myself and like nourishing my soul. So
So it's
I
a cumulative 1 hour, not necessarily like condensed. So you
yeah,
spread them out all over the day.
I do.
Okay.
Well, whenever I can fit it in. So like, hey, if I can go meditate outside for at like 20 minutes, and I'm like walking down to like a park, and then I sit and meditate for 10 minutes, and then I walk back to my car, then like those can be tacked in together. But they don't have to be. And so it's really just how I can honestly, however I get it done, is what matters most to me.
Okay.
you know, being a mommy and working full time and all the other things, like I fit it in when I can, but I know if but I do fit it in, and I think that that's what's most important. So yes, my 10 minutes of nature, and then I journal every night. So every night when I go to bed, this one's kind of spotty. I wish this was more consistent for me, but pretty much every night, and sometimes I forget, or sometimes I'm doing other things. I will journal what I'm grateful for at the end of the day as a way to just like kind of get my thoughts out, and then affirmations because they say, like, The Power of Awareness is a book by Neville Goddard. It's one of my favorites. It's about manifestation. So it's like whatever you're thinking and feeling right before you go to bed is what you carry into the dream state, and that's actually what you're manifesting and creating in your life. And so I'm very intentional about how I feel as I'm going to bed because of that. And so it helps me kind of get out of like the like recap of like, oh, that interaction was weird, or like that person, like, God, I wish I would have said that differently. Instead of that thought process, I go into like what I'm grateful for and what I'm trying to invoke in my life, and cultivate within myself. And then if there's something like that that is lingering from the day,
Mhm.
then I journal about that so that I can truly let it go. Because I can't really let go of something unless I either talk to the person about it or I journal about it. Was it confabulations, as Brene Brown labels them? It's like those loops of conversations or thoughts that we have that go through our mind that we kind of make up.
Mhm.
But then it's really hard to like deprogram ourselves from doing that if we don't have like a release for them. So that's how I release them at the end of the day.
So
Yeah.
for your journaling, do you have regular journal prompts or you just try to kind of hit those three areas that you already said where, what are you grateful for, but also trying to get out maybe that lingering thought, like, or do you have some different journal prompts that come into play?
Yeah. So if new to journaling, the 5 minute journal is on Amazon. On Amazon. Sorry, it's just like that came out weird. It's on Amazon and it gives journal prompts on a daily basis, and it's like a morning journal and an evening journal, and it takes less than 5 minutes each day. So it's really popular. So that's like a good introduction to it. I also I have a ton of journal prompts that like people I follow, or it's like based off of the astrology and what's going on and like the planets, and like I like follow a bunch of people, but I have like a million journal prompts that like naturally come to my head, but I tend to free write. So unless I'm working towards something intentionally, I tend to just
Mhm.
rewrite whatever comes out, and it's kind of stream of consciousness. I learned it in a creative writing class, so they're like, just put your pen down and don't lift your pen up from the paper, and just like and do it for at least a full page. And so if I do that for a full page, I usually keep going, and it just is kind of like this kind of like a relinquishing of like what like all the thoughts that are kind of swirling around.
Wow. Okay.
I
I'm
know.
gonna give
Do you
that.
journal
I'm gonna
at
give
all?
that one a shot. I like that one.
Yeah. Do you journal at all?
No, no, there's something there. There's like a limiting belief about journaling where it's
Oh,
like
like
I'm
what?
intimidated by it.
Mm,
I tried to do on Pinterest. I found like a 30-day challenge to
mhm.
journal, and they were really great prompts, really great. But then I found myself um pencil whipping the exercise, or one was, describe your ideal day in detail, and I was like, well, I got like a that much like a paragraph done, and I'm like, I don't know what else am I supposed to say. Like it just kind of almost felt intimidating to
Yeah.
really like get down into the details of, what's my coffee taste like on an ideal day, what's the temperature outside, who's sitting next to me, what's for breakfast. It
Mhm.
just there's something there. It feels like too intimate almost to put it out there on paper. Is that weird?
No, not at all. I love that you say that because I used to be afraid to write certain. It's almost like, well, what if someone reads this? Like, what would they think? You know? But and then also like it's owning it to a certain extent because
Yeah.
you write it, then you're like, is that really like is that true?
Yeah.
You know? And yeah, no, I
Well,
can.
what if my like future self is super embarrassed by what I wrote down?
Oh God, I cannot. I've been journaling for like consistently. I have 10 years worth of journals that I've saved.
Whoa, yeah.
And I pull out some old ones and I'm like, what was I even talking about? But it's
Yeah.
like it is how it's like almost like a documentation of how you were in that exact moment. So like no judgment. Like it is what it is.
I
But
don't
it's
know.
kind
I
of
don't
like
know if I
almost
need a
turn that
witness.
off.
I'm
Like
gonna
I
be
don't know if I
my
want to see
own my own worst witness.
yeah, but then like relinquishing like that's why I don't tend to read mine like and maybe I should be more reflective. Like it is definitely a self journey. Like it's definitely a self study exercise that I incorporated when I went through yoga teacher training, and I really like got pretty avid about doing it because of that. Just because I saw so much growth. Because sometimes writing it down and seeing it
Mhm.
validates. Like sometimes when it's just like looping in your mind, you don't really like fully embrace it until you see it written down, and you're like, oh shit, like this is real. Like this is really how I feel, and like now that I see it written down, how does that shift for me? And like, what is that? What does this really mean to me?
Wait, wait, wait. So then you have to get accountable for it?
Yes.
This is next level.
Yeah. But then it's like the safety of your own, like privacy of like your own, like you're your own accountability buddy in that way.
Oh no.
And that's why I need it. It's because like I need to own like Brene Brown, shitty first draft. Write out how like if you're really upset about something, like writing out all the like the terrible things that are going on in your head and like all of it, like bare your soul to a certain extent to the pen and on the paper, and then she'd always say like then read it back and like pick out what's true and then also see like kind of where we're making up stories in our mind,
Mm.
you know, even about the situation or about the person, like where are we kind of inserting some assumptions versus like there's some facts that go along with it and some real truths that might even be able to help us articulate that when we talk to the person about it. So I write everything. I so maybe one of these days we'll just like share what I've written. But I to say that I journal and like, but then there you have these great pieces of like downloads where you're just like, wow, that was some wisdom. Like that's some fucking wisdom that I like needed to hear. And if I wouldn't have given myself the space to be able to like hear it or even to write it and then see it, I don't
Mhm.
think it would have hit the same way. So
Wow. Okay.
I'm curious. Now I want to, I encourage everyone to journal. I'm like a big journal proponent just because I don't, the only way for me to turn off my mind and to like really let go of a situation is to write about it or talk to the person. I also record myself speaking sometimes because then I have to get it out. It has to come out somehow. So
What do you do with those recordings?
they're in the cloud. They're in the cloud. I don't even know what that means really, but that's where they are. And I'm slightly concerned about what's in the cloud and what, who actually reviews that content. So I'm like sobbing in some of them. Like I'm like,
Oh
oh,
no.
it's a full on, it's a borderline therapy session sometimes in like recordings, or I'm just like pissed and like there's
Yeah.
probably the angriest affairs on the cloud, but yeah.
Your cloud is a whole mood.
Oh God, it's more than it's like 20 moods. It's like 20 minutes. But yes, but yeah. So whatever, like some like that's what I say for my clients that like hate their handwriting. They're like, I don't want to handwrite things. I'm like, record yourself, then record it. Like it's like it can be
Mhm.
a vlog. It doesn't have to be like you know like writing it in that way. And they're like, okay. And that became a little bit more accessible for some people. But I like to write. I think I love pen to paper, you know, and just like even like I love stationery. It's like the whole it's like a whole it's a ritual. Everything about it's a ritual practice for me now.
It sounds romantic.
It is. I write poetry. I started writing poetry this past year because of it. And like and then I realized that like if I'm in a really relaxed state, like I'll just stream of consciousness write poetry and like songs and like I yeah, it's like it's and now it's become like creative, more creative than just like vent sessions. It's become more of like a way to express art to me. And
Yeah,
then
you
I
got that out
realized
of the way.
yeah, now I'm like, how? Now I understand why people like how this can be therapeutic for people. And I
Yeah.
just didn't I don't, you know, I wouldn't necessarily call myself a poet, so I didn't ever think about it before. But now I can like really see it. I took a poetry workshop, and Ben Israel is this great. He's the most like interesting person I've ever met my entire life, to say the least. And he, or one of the most interesting people I've ever met. And he's a poet. He's like a Grand Slam, like world renowned like poet, PhD. Just has done a lot of things, and now he like writes for other people and was like worked in like Congress as like a speechwriter. And so he just like, but like the amount of words and for him to be able to like art, like really articulate and teach people how to use their words in order for a form of expression is just like next level. So he taught me, and I've been doing it ever since. So,
Nice. What's his name again?
Ben Israel.
Okay.
We should have him on the podcast sometimes. He's living in Mexico City right now. We won't have to go into detail about him, but he's just like living this life. He makes art. He like does like, he's a producer too. So he like makes these like visual, like art pictures and like movies. And it's just like, he's always doing something. I'm like, invite me to whatever you do. Cause I want to come and like always cool people. And it's just like always a good scene. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
I digress. That will happen in this podcast every now and then, as Lauren knows from me firsthand. So yes, okay. Should we say? Should we get back on topic? Should
And
we?
yeah, rituals, self-care rituals.
Okay. Oh well, funny enough, my last two are one is spending time with people that I care about and connecting with people that inspire me. So that's like one thing that I actually really try to do is work, like spend time with people and like talk to people that are lifting, like either inspiring me in some way or lifting up, or it's just like a point of like genuine communication and like connection. Because I think, you know, as human beings, one of the most important things is to feel connection with people. And since separating from Kyle, I don't have that like kind of sounding board as much as I used to on a regular basis. So like now I like consciously seek out those conversations in order to like fill me up in that way. And I don't think I ever recognized how much I needed that until I was like alone a lot, that I was like, oh no, it's like really important for me to like talk to people and like be around people that I love and like trust and like just to be able to like feel love in a way, right?
That could be a real challenge, I think, especially you have at least three jobs. You're a mom.
Yeah.
Like, how do you make time for that one? Like, how do you make time to have meaningful, let alone to see the people you're obligated to see in life? So how do you make time for the special connections?
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm curious. How do you kind of have this as a practice? Because I feel like we connect on a regular, and you're very good about connecting and meeting up and all that kind of stuff. So yes, I will.
Yeah.
So I didn't mean to answer a question with a question, but I will answer in a second. But I'm just curious to hear what you have to say about it.
I live a very quiet life, right? Like I don't have, it's just me and a dog, right? So it's a lot easier to integrate seeing people and putting work on hold to go see people that lift me up. And I keep my circle small. So the people I spend time with are only people who are positive interactions and people who are doing really great things with their lives and are wonderful community members. And, I spent a good amount of time kind of evaluating who I was spending time with and how I was spending the time many years ago. And, those people just kind of fall away. And silver lining of the pandemic was that, it was harder to spend time with people, especially with ones that the relationships weren't meaningful. So, I only seek out time now with the people who matter and lift you up. And that's really, I mean, that's sets a completely different tone in my intentionality with the relationships and how I build my days.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, and I love that. And that's what I was just thinking. I was like, I feel like you are so good at it, and like just making sure to follow through and like reaching out and setting up those times that that's why I was curious to hear what you have to say. And I think there's a long period of time where I overextended myself. I still can fall into that sometimes, but especially within this past year, I've been so intentional about who I'm spending time with and making sure that those people know that I care about them. And I think that it's so easy for me to, get lost in like, okay, these are people I actually I have to checkpoint with, and all of these other things. But one, I try to only work with people I like to work with, so that I'm a little selective in that way,
Yeah.
because that's people I want to. That those are the people I'm spending my time with, so I want to enjoy that. And
Yeah.
then, outside of that, for just my personal relationships, to be able to have people that lift me up. And I kind of cut ties with quite a few people over this past year, especially with separating and kind of not feeling the obligation to spend time with people that were a part of our married friends kind of thing,
Yeah.
and really just being around people, and they very well could still be those people, but it's like, do I lift up? How do I feel after I leave spending time with you? Like that's how I
Yeah.
use it. Do I feel like motivated and like lighter and like filled with joy, or do like I feel like or am I like, God, what just happened, or like
Yeah.
that just felt gross, and if I had that, it's a two strikes you're out process. So if I have that with the same person twice, I'm like, and it's not like I'm mad at them or I hate them or like I never want to see them again. It's more of like, I just am not going to make the effort to contact them anymore. And if that relationship naturally dies, then naturally dies. If it stays alive and we connect in other ways, I'm usually open to it, but I just, I want to make sure I'm allocating the time for the people that matter most.
I really like that you said a minute ago, obligated.
Hmm.
Who are the people I'm obligated to see? And that kind of like a sense of guilt.
Yeah.
And, thinking about that too much lately with how social norms like made you feel like, oh, I have to see this person, or, I have to accept the invitation, or because declining would be rude. And,
Mhm.
just taking a second to realize like that feeling of obligation or guilt or shame if I said no feels way worse than just going. And so oftentimes I wouldn't say no because I would be like, oh, that I feel embarrassed or I feel again shame
Mhm.
by not meeting that obligation. So I'd go and spend time with these people and then I'd leave and be like, wow, there's a strike because it's like, I don't like that wasn't fun. That wasn't great.
Yeah.
So like trying to get out of both those negative feelings and find some positive somewhere.
Mhm.
Like how can I have an interaction that's actually meaningful and positive and um lifted up again rather than just like drained in the shame or drained in the, drained in the event.
Yeah. I I love that you said drain in the shame because there's this like and I don't know if it's like more emphasized within women, but like I do feel like we feel like, oh well, like then they'll think that we don't like them or they'll be like hurt
Yeah.
by us saying no. But like have you ever said no? Like and then I don't say no. And then I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'll think about it or I might be able to squeeze this in." And then you don't go and then it's like then that feels worse, you know? And
Yeah.
so it's like saying no up front, I think then just like creates the clear boundary and expectation, and then you're able to like make it like you can allocate time for it if you can, and if you can't, then saying no and knowing that that's a boundary set and like no harm foul, you know. I think that people are usually open to receive that too.
Yeah.
I told one of my friends, I was like, yeah, just like not really, I'm not talking to anybody, I don't really feel like the need to. And they were like, is that why you haven't been answering my calls? And I was like, no, no, no. I was like, you are one of those people. I wouldn't tell you this if you were one of those people. You are very much someone that is important to me. I love you dearly. I'm sorry about that. And so I was like, but this is what I'm trying to do is be more intentional about the time that I'm spending and the people that I'm spending it with so that I can have the energy and like the like
Yeah.
otherwise it's like you don't want to feel drained when you go hang out with people. So yeah.
Yeah. And I'm an introvert, right? So I don't want to go to crowds. I don't want to go to the bar. I don't want to do those activities. I got to really like save up my energy for like a month to go to like a concert. So yeah, same. Like I'm very intentional and then I feel better. And I probably, the relationship and the exchange is better too if it's,
Absolutely.
intentional and enjoyable.
Yeah, that's how it should be. Like, isn't that the whole purpose of like like partnerships and friendships is like to bring joy into each other's lives? But I think yeah, like you said, for some reason we get stuck in this idea that we have to do this, or like holding on to friendships that you've had for years and maybe you guys have outgrown each other, but then you still feel this obligate. Like that's like what gets me sometimes, like that obligation of like, well, we used to be really close, so then I feel like I still need to show up for you in this way, and
Yeah.
like allowing myself to like let those old layers kind of die off and again, no harm to either person, but it's just like kind of seeing the natural progression of any type of relationship and like accepting it for what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So that's I think a big one. And then that like what like I was just reading something and it was like once you open up space in that way, then you like give yourself the opportunity to do the other things that fill you up because you're not giving and draining yourself in these areas that really aren't fulfilling you. And I think that once I started to become recognize my schedule and like be realistic about it, then I was able to like really like I time block. I'm like, but you know, doing as much as I do, I have to time block in order to like specifically set everything apart. And then I give myself sections and I literally have like a breathe and eat hour in my day each day to be like, go breathe, go get outside if you haven't already, and
Yeah.
eat food and like make sure to set this in at some time in your day. And like then I'll maybe take my lunch to a beautiful place or maybe I'll go take it outside so then I eat while I'm like out in nature and that's like my nature break. So like that's why I'm saying everything's pretty fluid because it's I want to do it and I know that my day is going to change a little bit each day, and so like how do I still um, kind of select those time slots to make sure that it's happening but I'm not killing myself or overextending myself in the process.
Good.
Yes, I know. So what are some of your rituals, Laura?
Ooh. That's a really hard question. I think, is it a ritual or is it a habit? You have to help me decide. But you know what? The second my feet hit the, ground and I'm up, the Bo and I, the dog, we're out for a walk every
Oh,
single day. It's 6 a.m., 5:30, early, and that's it. We don't do a single thing other than put shoes on and go straight out the door. And, yeah, it's a chore, but that's it's our ritual and it feels really good because we're listening to the birds in the morning. We got just, it's just us and the fresh air. It's wonderful to be out there both moving first thing in the morning
mm-hmm.
and then, come back and then it's okay, let's start on, the chores of the day, right? Like get the coffee going, start getting ready for work and the breakfast and all that kind of stuff. But like that's our designated time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's non-negotiable. Like it's not going to change. And, that's my commitment to him, and he holds me accountable. And that's, it's beautiful time outside. And so does that qualify? Can that qualify?
1000%. I was just thinking of all the ways that it qualifies in my mind.
I'm looking for your approval.
I don't know. Well, one, you don't need my approval.
You're the expert.
You permission granted to do whatever feels good for you, but I would say you are doing something on a consistent basis, one, and you're being intentional about how you're doing it. And like you're like, I think that rituals really are just an opportunity to gain presence and to be like fully in your body and to use it as a spiritual practice. So if it's walking and taking in the fresh air and hearing the birds chirp and like being able to spend time with, Bo, who means, so much to you, and is like having that connection and like doing something and getting active, getting your blood flowing and like all of that, like that's a ritual. You're covering all the marks all in one. So like I think that's amazing.
Good. I feel much better now.
You're like, oh, I'm gonna share my rituals with her. What is she gonna say?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, just, it to me, it's my Zen place, right? Like he reminds me every single day, like stop, smell the flowers, right? Like, or, the grass or whatever else we're smelling. But, if I'm not, present with him, he's gigantic, right? He's going to take me out with the first distraction, the first rogue squirrel. So if I'm not present and like focused on the fact that like I'm being here now, which is so, refreshing, he'll get one up on me if I'm not. So, it's really a special time for us each morning.
Yes, and then you're saying going into that coffee, and I think preparing breakfast and cooking and like drinking coffee can definitely be a ritual too. It's like one of those things I think is really, I think underrated. It becomes just so much a part of our routine that sometimes we've forgotten that it can be a ritual. But I think having like my first cup of coffee and like sitting with something like hot beverage, and even sometimes like I need something warm, and it doesn't like sometimes I drink cold brew, and so today I was like, what do I want? And it's like a mindfulness exercise to be like, what do I want today? And like, what am I going to pick out? And what am I in the mood for? Do I need a ton of caffeine, or do I need like a little, like, do I need a chai tea and like a little bit less caffeine today? And like just using again all of this as a checkpoint for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, that's lovely.
I know. Well, you're doing it. I think we all do it, but it's like, what are the identifying them and then creating intention around them, I think is the steps that sometimes get lost because it can feel like a chore. But if you make it more of a practice and something that you are being mindful about doing, then it can be a ritual.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. Okay. So I think that one of the other things I was thinking about, sorry, just referring to my notes over here to make sure I'm covering all our bases. I tried to do it slyly and I was like, that was so not slick that I feel like
it's okay. We'll forgive you.
Is to make it a non-negotiable. And I think that, we were talking about this, like, how do you actually fit this into your day?
Yeah.
And like, how do you make it like something that you actually are doing, and it's like, I have to do it. Like in my mind, it's like I have no choice because there's days where, Bella wakes up earlier than I expected her to. And so then I'm like, wake up and I'm like, I hear, mommy, time to wake up. It's morning time to wake up. She literally yells this from her room. And so I'm like, okay, well, meditation, hold, please. Gotta go get my baby, get her on the potty because we're potty training right now, and then get her fed and like kind of start that whole like rhythm. Or I stayed up too late and I slept in and I just don't have the time. So it's like, so then if I can't do it in that moment, which is never a good space, because then I'm like irritated, I'm like moving a million miles per minute, and I'm just a lot less centered and like balanced from the get-go.
Yeah.
So like that's why I notice when I don't do them probably more than I notice when I do them. But when I don't, then I just am like, okay, I wasn't able to fit this in yet, but I'm going to do this at a later point. So then like after I drop her off at school or something like that, I will make a conscious effort. I will literally even just sit in my car in the parking lot at her school, and I will like turn on like solfeggio frequencies, and I like sit there and I close my eyes and I meditate for like 10 minutes, and I'm like, whew, this morning was a something to be remembered, and I need to take a moment here to like regroup and like reset, because like if I reset from a conscious space, I just everything flows better after that. And I for years I tried to like, skip past it, or like, give myself honestly the short end of the stick. And I'm like, why? Like I can do so, I'm more productive. I'm kinder to myself. I'm kinder to the people around me. I'm able to move through like different tasks in a more efficient way. Like everything lines up. So like, why wouldn't I do this? And so I just have to make that a priority. And that's what it comes down to.
Nice. I can totally picture you though at school, like doing some deep breathing in the carpool lane, like in the pickup lane. And it's just like, who is this mom? Like, that must have been a rough morning.
I know. And like I had to let go of like what people think of me, because I definitely hear cars like pull up next to me and then they like drive past. And I'm like, no, they see me. So it's like this, I'm sitting in my car with my eyes closed, like like breathing.
Yeah.
But I used to do it actually when I worked at UW for a long time. I used to do it on the bus. So I'd literally be on the bus with my eyes closed with my like headphones and like meditating on my way to work. And so like but that was when I found it. Like that's when I could fit it in. So like that's when I incorporated it. And if I had to get, I had to be in the office by 8 o'clock. And so I'm not a morning person, never have been. And so like to be able to like, if I couldn't get it in, like when I first woke up, then I would make sure to, do it on the bus. Oh, yes. Anyways, but I just realized, and then my other one is working out. I have to do some type of movement. And so that's why when you said I go for a walk and then I'm able to take him for a walk and then I'm like present as I'm doing that. And I'm like, it's so important because I have to get some type of movement in my body, like just to increase the blood flow and like get like my like circulatory system a little boost, because then I feel like I'm like more limber and I'm just in a better space because of that too. And I check in with my body, so I'm not always just in my head. I'm able to like tune in a little bit in that way too.
What kind of exercises are you doing? Because you instruct yoga. Is that your go-to, or do you do other movements as well?
It depends on the day. So see, this is
Okay.
I have consistency and then I have fluidity within my consistency, and that is a downfall and also a strength.
Okay.
And so but then I would say my meditation is when I check in with myself on like what I need. So like, and sometimes sitting still and my mind is just going absolutely bananas. I'm like, I can't sit here and meditate right now. So I get up out of bed and I go and I move. And so like, because I've taught for so long, it's very easy for me to just like let stream, like again, stream of consciousness, talk about creativity, to let the sequence get expressed through my body and not think about it too much and just do whatever feels good. Well, then I consciously take class from people every week too, because I like to be able to turn off my mind completely and have someone else do all of the work, and then I'm just there to breathe and like fully and like embody the practice in that way. So it kind of depends on what's going on. More likely than not, it's yoga. I walk a lot too. I walk every day. So I'd say going for walks is definitely something if I can't. And that way, if I have Bella and I'm like, throw her in the wagon and I'm like power walking down the street. Yeah, yeah, I'm that mom. I'm that mom. Like, but I'm like, but I have to get like, I just want to sweat. I want to sweat a little bit each day, and like then I feel like, and it's great for your heart condition. It helps you, like you, there's so many different physical benefits of getting your heart rate up at least for 30 minutes every day. That I've learned that however I find that is whatever I can fit in, I'll do.
Nice.
Do you have like do you have some ritual around exercise or movement?
No, no, not right now. No, Bo and I go on 3 walks a day. Like,
You do, then you do.
I don't know. It's, there's my heart rate gets up, but only if it's, him going after a car or, acting a fool. But, it's not, yeah. So it's not that like heart rate's not, elevated, not necessarily breaking a sweat, but, we don't have a yard. So we got to do three walks a day.
Yeah, which is kind of nice for you to get out and probably get fresh air and to get the exercise as well. And then, so then you do have a ritual around it. Maybe not full like sweat going on, but like you
Yeah.
do have an opportunity to go and just not be sitting. You'd be surprised. A lot of people sit down all day and like literally like the only times they're walking is like to and from their car. And like that is like I think that lack of movement, I think just like kind of sticks in your body, and just being too static for too long can be really detrimental.
Do you ever use like a step counter?
I had an Apple Watch. I have an Apple Watch. I do not wear it. I used to wear it, but then it's like you're really accessible all the time, and in my career that is maybe sometimes a little overwhelming. So I have not been wearing it. But I used to count my steps. And I always shot for 10,000 steps every day, but I actually could not do that unless I took one very. I had to take a walk. Like I couldn't just do that by like just doing my normal day-to-day stuff. Like I
Yeah.
had to go outside in like at least 10 minutes or go for a run or something like that to really hit the numbers that I wanted to. I remember there was one day and I was doing computer work all day, and I remember I only walked like 322 steps or something like that. And I
And you
was
were
like,
probably
oh
exhausted though, right? Like,
I was, because mentally I was putting out
yeah,
so much energy, but
that's the worst. And that's largely why I never liked step counters because it like so much pressure.
mm,
And that's the whole point, right? The pressure is to get up and move. But then like doing the work I was doing, I'm just drained and so tired. And so again, back to that shame,
yeah,
like feeling like here's yet another thing I'm not doing or not like another goal I've set and I'm not reaching it. And just like
yeah.
it led to me just being so hard on myself.
Mhm, mhm. It's like once again I'm not hitting the mark, or at least that's what you're thinking.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Which, Laura, we could talk about that all day.
Maybe for another day.
I know,
We can
right?
talk about that. But
Because it's like, but that's the thing. It's like, do I do all of these rituals every day? Like, yeah, I try. But if I don't, like, I'll try to do a couple of them. But if I don't, fuck, give myself some grace. Because there's probably, like, whatever I experienced that day to not be able to fit this in, like, I need to give myself, like, if I checked off one of them, and that's why I try to meditate the first thing in the morning, because at least I get that done.
yeah.
uh, so I can give myself a pat on the back. But giving yourself a pat on the back and like encouragement, no matter what it is, I think is like that can be a ritual all in itself. Like that's why I talk about gratitude practice and like giving myself something to remind myself there's not always lack, that I am accomplishing something, and like kind
Yeah.
of having some giving yourself kudos, no matter what that is.
Nice.
And that's
Nice.
it. That is probably the most important part of rituals, is not being too hard on yourself about not doing them, and like creating consistency, but know that that might take time to do. And to say that I've been consistent with my ritual practice for my entire life would be a lie. And even after I knew how important they were, and even after a period of time where I was doing them consistently for a long time, when I became a mom, all of that shit went right out the window, and I couldn't even exercise for full 6 weeks. I wasn't allowed to because I had a C-section, so I couldn't even do anything for 6 weeks. And so like then even when I was like 8 to 9, I practiced yoga until I was 9 months, about 8 months pregnant. But then that last like month, I wasn't really able to move. So I was like, how do I find this sense of like spiritual connection that I know is essential for my well-being? How do I find that? And that's when I really started meditating more, was because I couldn't just do yoga. Before it was all yoga. Like that physical movement was where I really found it. And then when I wasn't able to do that, and then even the months afterwards, when then I became a mom and I wasn't even sleeping consistently, I was like, I was gonna yell fuck again, but I was like fudge, and I was like, don't say fudge. And so like there's been these multiple checkpoints where I've had to reassess and reevaluate what I'm doing. And I would say even this like what I'm doing right now is like new to this year. Usually I reevaluate it on the new year. Um, and that has been like, but I'm giving myself a little bit of like ease and grace in the process has been so important for me, because I'm similar in that way. I'm really hard on myself, but it's like this is supposed to fill me up, not tear me down. So like
Yeah.
I'm looking at it from that approach.
I love that. I love that you're giving yourself grace, and that's something that you can just give your permission for, build it into the practice. I think that's, beautiful.
It's all tied together, because at the end of the day, it's like it's the self-worth. What I want to do is feel connected to myself, and like give myself opportunity to check in so that I can like myself and love myself, and all of that. But if I'm that's the thing, is like if I'm tearing myself down about not doing it, then like isn't that counterproductive to what the whole point of the rituals are in the first place?
Yes.
I know.
Amen on that.
It all comes back together. So I do. Okay. So any other, so you have walks with Bo, morning ritual, making breakfast, drinking coffee. What are some other rituals that you have?
Okay, this one you might chuckle at, but um I because it's not consistent. It's not consistent, but I have gone and I've been single a long time, many years here. So, um, a ritual I decided to, I have a double vanity in my bathroom. So I cleaned out one side, like I sprawled everywhere, right? Like I really made myself at home in my home
Yes.
and, there's no room for anyone else. So I adamantly went and cleaned out the whole left side of it. But anytime like a quality or an attribute of my ideal partner pops into my head, I
Mhm.
scroll it down on a sticky note and I put it into one of the drawers.
I love that.
So these drawers are just like full of sticky notes about like open-hearted, thoughtful, kind, ambitious, good sense of humor, likes to travel, like all of these notes in there. And then, hopefully, hopefully one day that person will open it and be like, this is me.
Think of how fucking beautiful that will be the moment that happens, because it is going to happen. I believe that for you. But then it's like to be able to see that and take out all the notes and maybe even do it together and be like, these are all the things I was calling into and I found them all in you. Like, stop.
So it's not like it's not a set time in the day or any time of week, but anytime there's that thought that's like, or even I'm out and about and I see a characteristic or an emotion, something in someone else, I'm like, wow, I'd really like that in my life. I put it in the drawer.
Yeah, I love that. And even for your like in a partner, and then also I think that usually what we're seeking in a partner is also what we're seeking in ourselves. So
Yeah.
like just a reminder of that too. Do you
Yeah.
like, and that's why like affirmations have always been really big for me for that. It's like, what characteristics am I trying to cultivate and really invoke in who I am on an energetic level? And I think then that's like a part of rituals, just repeating those and seeing those. Do you ever put the affirmations or the things that you're trying to create in your life on your mirror or anything like that?
Girl, they're all over the house.
Really?
They're all over the house. They're in the cupboard when I get my coffee cup. They are on the garage door when I go outside every day. They're on the mirror. They're everywhere, everywhere.
That is a ritual. That is also check another ritual that Laura has. It's having her affirmations and repeating them when she's doing different activities.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Just to have that just reminder, just in case, like you're not walking out the door without being reminded that you are magic.
Mhm. Yes. Snaps. Did I tell you every time I go do something that I like snap and I do a shimmy is like a way to like pump me up before I do something?
I love that.
Did I talk to you about that? I don't know.
No.
Say that. But I was like, yes, yes, you are fucking magic. You are magic. You're magic. Sorry. Awesome.
Well, okay. I think that's a great place to lead into our new ritual
Mm-hmm.
around this podcast. So, um, yeah. So our thing, right? We're gonna try it out. We're gonna see how far we get. But love songs.
Love songs.
Love songs.
Love
So
songs. I'm very much on tune, as you can imagine. I am actually singing myself as well. No, I'm joking. Keep going.
this is now a karaoke podcast.
I'm so bad at karaoke. It's embarrassing. Keep going though.
Gosh. Yeah. Okay. So I told you this idea the other day, like, again, single for too long. Um, love songs. Like, when you're single, sometimes it can really make you sad. But I love songs. Like Taylor Swift is my homegirl. Like I am just jamming. I love them. So uh it occurred to me the other day, like I was singing them, and much like the affirmations, like what you said about seeking in a partner, I was like, oh, I don't really care, like, oh, dreaming about this partner and singing this love song to them. Like, I want someone to sing this to me. And dawned on me, like, I'm singing this to me. So dedicating love songs to ourselves.
Which is the most incredible idea in the world. And you said this to me, and I was like, I would never even think of this. And I love love it so much. And I want,
It's either sweet or narcissistic, but we're gonna go with sweet.
I know that I was like, I have some love songs. I'm like, do I dare give this to myself? Do I sing this to
Hmm.
myself? And then it's a full hell yes. It is a full hell yes.
Hell yes. Okay, so which love song are you vibing for yourself this week?
Okay, I actually already told Laura this, and she laughed at me. Take no wait. Nice for What by Drake is been my love song, and
Yeah.
I am twerking in my car to it every single time it comes on. And I have been twerking in a car. Well, no, depends on what your idea of twerking is, but I am dancing and feeling myself the entire time that song is on. And it is just a reminder, especially during this transitional time in my life, of like leaving a partner for like we were together for 11 years and really starting a whole new life. And like as a single woman has just been a really huge shift for me, especially in being in partnership for so as long as I have. So having the song being like, I'm still a bad bitch. I am still owning it. I got my stuff together. I'm doing the damn thing. Like, don't freak out, and like just like own where you are. Own who you are and where you are in your life, and don't let any comparisons to other people ever like taint the beauty and magic of who of this moment. And so that's how I've been using it. But it does also just make me want to dance, which puts me in a better mood too.
You're moving.
I
You're
know. I
doing
was like,
movement again.
I don't want to put it on right now, but I'm not going to. Laura, what is your love song for this week?
Yeah, I am vibing. A song I'd never heard of before showed up on, thanks to the algorithm. But Gatlin, "What If I Love You?" And their chorus goes, "What if I love you? What if I love you way too much?" And I'm like, what if I love you way too much? Yes. What happens if I love myself enough? What happens if I love myself too much instead of focusing yet again on someone else? What if I love you too much? No, I don't think you can love yourself enough. So that's again my reminder of, yeah, what if I love you?
Oh, then everything else in life unfolds. The moment we love ourselves is the moment that we treat others how we treat ourselves. So the more
Yes.
we give, then the more love we have to give others too. So
Yeah.
I love it. Well, thanks for chatting with me about this and just being a badass and just being so fun. And like, this was an enjoyable time. And I hope all of you guys enjoyed listening to us talk about rituals. And if you have any questions about, establishing rituals or even just some tips on how to incorporate them into your life, I am happy to share that with you and talk to you more about it too. Rituals with Farah on Instagram. What up? Um, and also, I website Rituals with Farah as well. It's
Awesome.
kind of my jam.
That's very cool. Thanks so much for sharing it today. I really appreciate that.
Yes, I know. And where can people find you, Miss Laura?
Out there in the universe in general, no.
Sorry.
I am a coach too. So I have laurabiddle.com and we're vamping the Instagram right now. We're not there yet. We're working on that. Farrah's gonna help me.
Oh yes, I am.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone, and we will see you on the next time. Peace out.